Hey there, Well-Rounder. Jamira here, and welcome to the Living Well-Rounded podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by Ashley Joy Sutton, who is an amazing coach and speaker. Ashley and I dig deep and chat about sacrificing in order to get to the next level. Such a great conversation that I know you guys are going to love so very much. Cozy up, grab your favorite drink, listen in, and hang with Ashley and myself today. Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Living Well-Rounded podcast, a curated space for those of us seeking an intentional life filled with grace, passion, and purpose. I'm your hostess, Jamira, wife, mama, life and biz coach, educator, dessert fanatic, and on the ultimate mission to get you closer to your idea of what it means to live well-rounded. Right here's where you'll find exceptional resources, noteworthy tips, community, and relatable stories, no matter what season of life you're in. Take a break, cozy up, hang out with me for a bit, and let's dive in. Ashley J. Sutton, the founder and CEO of the AJS Group, coaching, consulting, and leadership training firm that facilitates communication skill training that helps transform teams and drive workplace performance. Ashley is an inspiring and dedicated certified life and leadership coach, two-time published author, keynote speaker, and 7+ years communications professional. In 2017, she was named in Ebony Magazine's Black Women to Know in PR, Tech, and Digital Media for her work in crisis communications, public and media relations. Ashley lived and traveled throughout Europe for several years, working as a sales and communications manager. In her innate passion for social, cultural, and community issues, along with her dynamic personality, have enabled her to blaze new trails and emerge as a well-respected leader. All right, guys, it's time to welcome Ashley to the mic. All right, well-rounders, I have my friend Ashley here, and I am super excited to have her on the show. I know you are going to be blessed by something that she says today because she is a wealth of knowledge and such a joy, no pun intended, to be around. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here and so excited to chat with you today.
No, it's already been fun catching up. And last time I saw you was in July. We both were speaking at a conference, so we got to connect there. And I was like, she has to be on the podcast because I learned so much from hearing you from the main stage. So I'm excited to have you. But before we get all the way into the show, introduce yourself to our audience.
Good. So my name is, I go by Ashley Joy. I am a life and leadership coach. And mainly what I do is I help women of faith take bold action, become bold leaders, and to just take claims on who they are in order to live in the fullness of their potential. I am a keynote speaker. I am a wife to an amazing man named Michael Sutton, and as well as I am a mama to a beautiful little girl. I call her a three-nager because although she's three, she is running things or thinks she's running things over here, named Artist. And yes, I'm just passionate about what I do. I'm also a writer, so I have written 2 books, and I just try to live in the fullness of my purpose and my call every single day.
I love that. And I also love your daughter's name. I think that's like the dopest
you.
name ever because we're all creatives in this space. So like,
Yes.
come on, how amazing is that? Okay, so Ashley, let's just jump right into it. So often we want to make big moves and we want to get it all done. You mentioned you do a lot of things, and I can definitely resonate with that.
Yes.
So we want to get everything done. We want to make these big moves. However, some of us, we are not willing to make the sacrifice to make it all happen. Why do you think that is?
Yes. So I always go back to vision, right? I think vision clarifies a lot for us in our lives. When I work with some of my clients or I talk with people and they have this ability to always use the word stuck, right? We all have used the word stuck. I feel stuck. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I can't accomplish my goals the way I want to. I always tell them to look at one of 2 things. One, what is the vision you have for your life? What are those things that you want to do, want to accomplish? What are those goals surrounding your vision? And 2, what are your habits, right? I think it's a great idea that you have a vision and you may have these goals, but what are the habits that you have? You can't say that you want to, let's just say, release a book right? I have a goal to release my book next year, but I'm not writing at least 2 to 3 hours a day or even 30 minutes a day. Let's break it down. It don't even have to be big goals or tall goals. It has to be strategic goals. But what are the habits that are surrounding what you do? So I realized that a lot of times people do not take action because one, they don't have a vision, or two, they don't have habits to support that vision.
Oh man, that was so good. Because as you're saying this stuff, I'm like, she right. Because I surely have not taken action on some of the things, but
Yeah, and we've all been guilty of that. We have
right.
all been guilty of that. You know, we all have been guilty of, I want to eat better. And then every night we are
Ice cream.
eating some cake or some chips or ice cream, right? We all have been guilty of saying, I want to work out. And then we go and we buy these nice clothes, what is it, gym attire. And then we never find ourselves in a gym, or we buy a Peloton bike and then it's just sitting there for months because you did not have the habit to support the vision.
Yes, that is so good. Habit is so important. But I love how you really just challenge people to determine what is the vision you have for your life. And that when as soon as you said that, I was like, oh man, that is something I'm going to write down so that as I move into a new year, to just get even more clear on that. Like, what is the vision for my life? From where I am right now in the season of my life, because that can change. Like, you may have thought you wanted one thing, but you're allowed to change and to pivot if you feel like you're being called to do something else as well. So
absolutely. And it's okay to pivot and change, right? It's okay to your vision will grow as you grow. And I believe that even as you clarify your vision, there are some things that you would take off and be like, is this really necessary to my vision? Do I really need to do this in order to get to this vision, this goal? And you will find that a lot of the activity that a lot of us do is not, it's not even, it doesn't even add to the bigger goal. It really doesn't. And even in my business and what I do, I'm like, okay, if my goal is to impact 100,000 women by 2023, I'm not going to get there with one-on-one clients. I'm just not.
Right.
So where do I need to put my focus, right? I need to focus on keynote speaking engagement with larger audiences. I need to focus on being on more podcasts with larger audiences. I need to focus on putting out my book because I know that that can travel everywhere across the world with larger audiences. I need to focus on, I needed to focus on those things that can get me to the bigger goal. And it hurts me to get away from my one-on-one clients, but I understand that it doesn't lead to my bigger vision.
Oh man, I'm writing that down. You're so right, because once you determine what your vision is, then you can now start to put the wheels in motion and then shed things that don't make sense and things that are not in alignment with your overall vision. Got to get rid of those things. Oh, I love that so much. And so today we are talking all about sacrifice. Why is sacrifice sometimes necessary if we do want to get to the next level in our life, business, and all the things?
That's good. That's good. And sacrifice is, I love the word sacrifice because although when we hear it, we're like, okay, right? Because sacrifice has what it's really saying is it's going to cost you something. Right. It's going to cost something. It means you have to almost give up something in order to get something, right? You have to dig a little deeper in order to go a little higher, right? But the sacrifice component is so important, especially on your life's journey. It's important to your call. It's important to your purpose. It's important to the woman or man that you desire to be, because it allows you to understand that it is going to take a little giving in order to get. It is going to take a little slowing down in order to move forward. It is going to take a little digging deeper in order to go higher, right? And even in all of those elements, we sometimes don't look at, okay, the years we spend in the seasons of planting, right? Every farmer knows that before a harvest, you have to plant. But the planting is not the most successful part, because that's where you get dirty. That's when you get discouraged. That's when your mindset gets filled with so much negativity. That's where you find doubt. That's when you find all of these things, right? That goes into that will try to stop you in order to move forward. But every farmer knows that in order for there to be a harvest, there has to be a season of planting. And in that planting is a lot of sacrifice, because you get dirty, your hands get dirt under your nails. You may find yourself waking up with tears. You may find look, you and I were talking before we got on here. I'm like going through a season like, what?
What's happening? Yes.
What's happening? But I understand that even in that development stage, even in those sacrifices, even in the working, even in the putting your head down, that there is a greater reward. And the sacrifice doesn't always come. No one congratulate you from putting your head down and doing the work. No one congratulate the farmer when they're doing the planting. They only like the harvesting. They're only like when the fruit to come into the surface where they can buy it. They don't say thank you for what you had to go through in those slow seasons, or in those seasons when you had to come outside and make sure that these plants and the seeds are being watered and they're at the right temperature, and the soil, right? The soil is in its proper element in order for these things to sprout up and to prosper, right? So the sacrifice never gets the proper congratulations, right? I love the book by oh God, it just slipped my mind. It was a book he written about Kobe Bryant. He used to be his trainer, and I'll think of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how Kobe Bryant, and we know Kobe Bryant to be one of the greatest basketball players of our generation, right? And he said everyone talked about how Kobe was the best, but they never talked about the sacrifice Kobe had to go through. In fact, in Kobe's last years of his life, he always talked about how he has never been so happy because he was present with his family. He was able to pick and drop his daughters off to school. He was able to be there at important milestones and birthdays. He was able to be present with his wife and take her on dates and go to concerts. So the greatest basketball player, right? The one who was this championship winning man, this one that the world loved and saw at his prime, understood that there was some sacrifice that came with him being the best of who he was. Now you may ask yourself, am I willing to go through that type of sacrifice? Do I want to go through that sacrifice? But when you love and have a calling and a passion and a purpose for something that you know that you were called to do, and guess what? His life was cut short, right? His life was cut at a level where we're like, oh my goodness. And at that moment, basketball wasn't at the focal point. His family was.
Right.
But his family was even called to who he is. And they were called to his calling. They were called to his purpose, but they understood the sacrifices he even had to go through in order to be at the level that he was at. So that's my long-winded answer for sacrifice.
No, I love it. I love it because it is a reminder that sometimes, and it goes with the whole culture of living well-rounded, we just have to focus 100% in one element, knowing that it'll pay off later on, knowing his family respected that he had a vision for his life to be the best. And so they were right beside him as he did that, but knowing that they got to reap certain benefits, and knowing, that once he did retire, that they would have all of him, the best of him. But the tragedy with it being cut short, I definitely hope it inspires people to, put in the work, make the sacrifice, do what you have to do, because our days are numbered. Nothing is promised. But if you're supposed to be walking in a certain season, your passion, purpose, and you're just chilling and you're not sacrificing, then you will never get to your full potential. You'll never do the work you've been called to do, and you're going to disappoint more than just yourself, because people need what you have. They need your gifts. God gave us these gifts. We need to use them, and they're not just for us. Sometimes they're for other people. Whatever it is. But then even still, I'm going to just, we talk on the show a lot about business stuff, but just even relating to everyday things. Like, I want people who may have a regular 9-to-5 that they really love to think about what sacrifices you need to make to go to the next level in the 9-to-5. sacrifices you need to make if you want your marriage to work, what
Yeah.
things you need to let go of. So sacrifice whatever you need to sacrifice in order to get closer to your vision. I think that
That's
is
right.
something, homework for all of us this
Yes,
week,
yes.
right?
And understand what's worth that sacrifice. You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right.
What's worth um the time away. And that's why it's important again to go back to your vision, because I believe so many times we mishandle a lot of the things that God has entrusted in our care,
Hmm.
and we think that this life, this gift of life that we have, is something that we have forever. That has always been a weird concept to me, that we as humans wake up every day and believe that we will be here forever.
Right.
Right?
Not true.
That it's just it's not true. It's not true at all. And I had to come to terms with it. Everybody is going to have to reckon with the fact that we all are going to die one day. We all have the same destiny, and that is death. It is promised to each and every one of us. We don't know when that day and when that time would be, but we have to understand that when God has entrusted us, even with the people in our lives, even with our spouses, even with our families, even with our children, even with these jobs, even with this purpose and this call that's within us, what are we going to do with it?
Mm.
Because it's not promised for us to be here to do anything with it tomorrow or the day after. So I
So,
wanted to be even mindful, and I had to be mindful. I had to take steps back. And one of the reasons why I was one of the women who left the workforce this past year, is because I understood that this job wasn't worth my mental health. It wasn't worth my sacrifice to my family. It
mm,
wasn't.
right.
It was not worth my sacrifice to my family. So I had to make that decision.
Oh, good for you. Because there are a lot of people who may be listening who may be in a miserable position or
Oh
one
God.
that's not
Yes.
mentally beneficial, that may need to figure out how can you let that thing go and pour into the things that really matter.
Absolutely.
So
And all
that's
my friends know that I am not the person to come to if you don't like your job, because I'm gonna ask you, why are you still there?
right, because you have choices. A friend of mine said, we have choices in life, and it's not always going to be easy, but I'm pretty sure that we will figure it out
That's right.
if
That's
it
right.
means a healthier, more joyful you in the
That's
long
right.
run. We'll
That's right.
figure it out. And so I'm curious to know, have you ever had to make a tough sacrifice that eventually paid off big for you?
Absolutely. One of the most recent sacrifices I've made over the years is that when my daughter, Artist Joy, was born in 2018, August of 2018, for 2 years, I spent that time just learning how to be a mom, cultivating my relationship, and really spent time. I laid everything down. Um, I laid everything down. And when I say laid everything down, I was not speaking, I was not teaching, I was not facilitating, because there was a process of me knowing who I was as Ashley Joy, knowing who I was as a writer, knowing my voice as a speaker, knowing my place as a coach. But I understood that I needed to sacrifice all of that to know who I was as a mom, to get
Mm,
comfortable and acclimated with being ever present in the home and not traveling and not doing all of those things. And the thing is, a lot of people don't look at women as them making a sacrifice, but that is a huge sacrifice that women make every single day for their children, that men is not necessarily called to do or not required to do, right? I always think about, even with Kobe Bryant, would his wife have been able to make that type of sacrifice with their home life over the years? Although she understood what he was called to, but would she have been able to sacrifice that type of time not being around her children? And the reality is, women aren't able to make that type of sacrifice. But for me, it was important, and I understand that I was able to make the decision and be mindful that I needed to be present in my daughter's life, and I needed to, because the business part of me and the entrepreneurial part of me, that was so much a big part of my identity,
mhm,
that both was kind of competing.
Mm.
right? It was both at this place, whereas I found myself working, but I wasn't really not balancing per se, but I wasn't even giving my child the fullness of who I was. So I
Mm.
had to say, okay, Ashley, in order for you to understand your role and understand who you are and embrace, that was important for me to embrace this motherhood journey. Because at first, I mean, I didn't always know I wanted to be a mom. That wasn't something that I dreamed about. In
Mhm.
fact, when I met my husband, I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be this auntie, kind of just, you know. And even after, a lot of people was like, oh, that would change. And it did change, because when I met my husband, I felt safe. Like, okay, yeah, I can see myself having a child with you. But when I had my child, I would not necessarily say that I had this, oh, I'm a mommy. I didn't have this maternal bone in me, where I was just like, half the time I'll be sitting at home with this baby, like, I think I'm your mom and you're my kid. Let's figure this thing out. So at that time, I realized that I had to do deeper work, and I had to do a lot of therapy and counseling. One, I had to recognize that I did have postpartum. I had PTSD due to my traumatic birthing experience, and I had to learn how to sacrifice what I love in order to get acclimated with something else that I love, and I did
Mm.
that.
That is so good. That is so good. And I definitely hope by you sharing that someone out there, is blessed by you sharing
And I
this.
would say that it was worth it. It was most definitely worth it. And when I was ready to go from this, not so much hidden season, but when I was ready to step back out and say, hey, here I am. I'm ready to embrace not only the entrepreneurial, the author, the speaker, the women's empowerment coach, but I'm also ready to share and impart this fact that I am a mom now, and hopefully I can resonate with other moms out there.
Right. And that's great, because I'm sure by you sharing that it is definitely needed for a lot of the moms who are also struggling with trying to handle the entrepreneurial side, their 9 to 5 side, their marriage, and then this new role that we're all trying
Yeah.
to, navigate on a daily basis.
And people think it just so it's supposed, this is what I know to be true, that a lot of women are not honest with the fact that it is not as natural,
Right.
especially when you're a first time mom. It's not as natural as the world will perceive it to be.
Right. And that is so powerful there, because a lot of people think it's supposed to be one thing. I don't know if it's what you see on TV or what your friends or family, fake
Yeah,
in every day, but it's a learning. Like,
it is
some
a
things
learn.
it's like you have to figure it out. And my kids are 11 and almost 7, and every day I'm figuring it out,
Yes.
because no 2 days are the same at
Right,
all.
right.
So we have to keep that in mind, is that this journey of parenthood is always going to be evolving, learning
Mhm.
and growing, because I've never had a 12-year-old before. So I'm about to have a 12-year-old and a
Yeah,
7-year-old. So I'm having to learn what that looks like to be a parent to children in this age group, in this
yeah,
season, in these conditions, with the
yeah.
pandemic in the world, because I know my family members have not had to deal with children at this age during
Right.
a global pandemic, sending them to school, praying over them, masking it up, sanitize.
Yes,
This is new for everybody. And so we're just all figuring it out together.
yes,
That
that's
that is
so
where we
true.
are.
That's so
Mhm.
true.
And so, what are some of your words of encouragement for someone that may be in a season of uncertainty, or someone that may have lost some faith in what is possible? They're like, you know what? I'm just going to hang tight and sit here. But deep down in the back of their head, they know that there's something that they should be doing, or something that they've been called to do.
Mm. I would one of my and this always goes against the grain of what everyone tells people to do, but I would tell that person to sit, that it's okay to take a season to just figure it out. It's okay to take a season to understand how you want to proceed forward. It's okay to take some time out and say, okay, I have been doing life a certain way, this way,
Mhm.
but I now envision and see myself as this woman, and I need to take time to envision that woman. I need to take time to envision what that man looks like, to envision what type of car this person is driving, what this person wants, what type of relationships this person has surrounding them, what type of job, what type of purpose, what type of a business they want to own, and what type of money, right? How much money do I want this person to have in the bank account? Because I believe that sometimes, I always work with people with my in coaching, it's about points, right? Point A of where you are, and point B is where you want to be, right? It's the person you desire to be. But from those points, no one ever talk about the space in between, right? And that's where we will take the time needed. And we live in such a generation, right? Our generation, everything works off this fast-paced frequency. Like everything works so super super fast. Like people think of ideas and in their head, and then next thing you know, they're like pushing these ideas out. And even in the entertainment industry, like they have like music coming out at a rapid pace, and people are judging albums from just the first day it's dropped. Like, I don't like the album. You're like, you didn't even listen to
it.
It just time to be even convinced in marketing about what you like, and you're telling me you listened to something one time and like, I don't like it. So that's there goes to show you that we're working off this fast frequency, and you can tell that everyone is so overwhelmed, and people are so tired and burnt out because they're tired of thinking and they're tired of moving, because they have embraced this power of movement but not the power of rest. And there's three things that rest is the most vital ingredient and the most powerful, most essential ingredient to my success, because I understand that if I'm not in a rested, a lot of people, when people think of rest, they be like, I'm not tired. I'm not talking about physical rest. If that's what you desire, some people need naps. I don't need a nap. I'm talking about mental rest, emotional rest, spiritual rest, physical rest. Rest is not just about sleeping. Rest is about being in a rested state. And to be in a rested state, meaning you are in a place where you are trusting a higher power, something that's bigger than you. You are rested. You're not concerned. You're not anxious. You're not worried about tomorrow. You're not thinking about the next day. You are rested. You are in a rested state. So if you're feeling discouraged, or you're feeling that there is something that you know that there's more for you to do, or if you're confused about your next step, I would tell you to rest. Rest, journal, be more in tune to yourself than you are in tune to the world. Do not go on social media and look at this person Instagram page, and because our minds are also constantly judging. We are in a constant state of judging everything that we see. We're judging whether we know it or not, whether it's good or bad, whether it's seeing a family photo, we're judging that, whether it's seeing a house that they show on social media now, all these houses, we're judging that. Like, we're constantly judging our lives against everything and everyone else. So I have found that a lot more people are discontent. They're not satisfied with their lives. They are not happy. They feel that when they're not moving, they're not progressing. And that's just a lie. Movement does not mean progression. Rest means progression. Contentment means progression, right? Gratitude means progression, right? And understanding that and understanding who you are is very important and vital.
Those are so good. So good. And I love your thoughts on rest, because we don't do enough of it, and just feeling like we got to keep up. But the most important thing is, just because you're moving doesn't mean that you're progressing at all. I always say, like hamster wheel, you moving, but there's nothing happening, and there's nothing new being made, taught, produced. You just on this hamster
I've been there, done it, been there. I have been the poster girl for movement. It ain't nothing like, what have I really accomplished? Nothing.
Yeah. And I'm right with you. I'm in the subtext right with you plenty of times in my life.
Yes.
And so earlier you talked a little bit, about how you were trying to juggle being a new mom and work and all the things. And so around these parts, we do not believe in the word balance whatsoever. However, you have a lot of things going on, a lot of exciting new things that you're planning for the new year. So, what is your definition of living well rounded as you manage all of these things?
Whew, priorities, understanding what my priorities are, understanding what how these priorities fit into my daily life. Um, as a traveling speaker, I did a lot of traveling this year, so that also caused me to spend a lot of time away from home, a lot of
Mhm.
time away from my daughter. And anyone knows, as moms, but as you know, our role is so super important in the house. But I do also understand that I have a partner who not only support, cultivate, invest in love my dreams just as much as I do, that he also understand what this type of work requires.
Right.
Especially because I'm not the traditional 9 to 5er, but I'm also not the traditional housewife mom. He understand that I'm not at home washing clothes and cleaning for them all day, then I'm actually working.
Right.
So, but when I am home, that my part in playing my part and being a team member is also important. So for me, I like to understand what my priorities are for each season of life. I did a lot of traveling again earlier this year and throughout this year, but now I'm prioritizing my family the next 3 months of this year, right? I'm prioritizing picking my daughter up every day from school at 3:30. I'm prioritizing making sure she have work done. I'm prioritizing making sure meals are cooked 4 days a week. These are my priorities for the rest of this year. Now in January, it may not look like that.
Just so y'all know, the contract expires.
January, it may not look like that, but the way I'm able to live well rounded is one, and my husband taught me this. Like, listen, you know, every season of life is going to look different around here,
Right.
right? But however you choose to show up, make sure you're showing up in the fullness of whatever that looks like.
I love
Make
it.
sure you're satisfied with the type of work that you're producing, not only in the house, but outside the house as well. So I'm able to transition in a way that is a flow, instead of feeling like, oh well, like even for me, being slowing down right after coming off the type of year that I came off of, I felt a little anxiousness, like, should I be working
Hmm.
more, should I be doing more? And I'm like, nope, I can't think like that. I'm prioritizing this family right now. I'm prioritizing this gift that God has given me. And then I feel another pull, like, but you can be. And I'm like, no.
Nope.
Someone called me for a speaking engagement in November. I referred that out. I'm not speaking no more for the rest of this year because my priorities are clear. And
Good
me
for you.
understanding what those priorities are, I also understand that honor comes with that. There's no way honor doesn't come with that. If I honor what has been given to me, I know that, God will promote me publicly. But people don't understand that that type of honor comes with private honor, with private declarations, with doing what you say you're going to do and holding yourself accountable when you say you're going to do something.
I love that. And it just makes me think about boundaries. Like when you
Yeah,
set them, you honor them, and then knowing it'll pay off in the long run. That is good.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and you mentioned season. So what are you most looking forward to in this season of your life?
I am looking forward to spending a lot of time with my family. Um, I'm looking forward to just the spiritual elevation and connection that I feel that I'm going through right now with God, and trusting him on a level that I have never trusted him before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just resting. It's funny, I've been using this word nesting with my friends and family. So I feel that I'm nesting in this season where I'm just prioritizing my mental health, my emotional health, and my rest with my family. So
I love
that's
that.
what I look forward to, and I'm grateful for this season where I'm able to slow down.
Oh, that's so good. And I encourage others to try to find little things here and there every day where you can slow down, hand off to someone else, let
Yeah.
go of, outsource, whatever it
Yes.
is. Let it go if you have to. So let's have some fun here and we'll roll over to our rapid fire segment so we can just get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, I'm excited.
Right. Let's do this. So, Ashley, if you could hire a personal chef, once a week cleaning service, or personal driver, which of the three would you pick first?
Once a week cleaning service.
Oh, that was quick.
I always think about that. I always tell myself when I get to a place where I can like do like house, it will be my household work. I don't mind cooking, but the cleaning.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Phone call or text? Somebody trying to reach
Depends on the day because I'm moody.
See, you're self-aware. That's so important.
But I will prefer to talk than text.
Okay.
Depends on the day.
Your favorite quote or scripture?
For all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord.
Awesome.
I don't know what I think that's in Romans somewhere. I can be wrong. I don't remember scriptures. But I remember scripture text, but I do not know what book is in. But
you know the book. Just don't ask me for the verse. What is your dream vacation location? Dream vacation location.
Oh gosh, I always wanted to visit, and I've traveled a lot of places, but I've always wanted to visit Australia.
Really? Good one.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to visit Australia.
Love it. What is a fun fact about you?
Fun fact. Ooh. I always tell people I'm from everywhere but nowhere. I was born in Connecticut, but raised in New Orleans. I went to school in Ohio. I went to school in San Francisco. I lived in Dublin, Ireland for 3 years. I traveled throughout Africa and in Europe. And I got proposed to in Paris. We got married in Atlanta. So like my life is like
I'm thinking you like a spy. Where are you hiding? You just moving, hiding.
I'm a gypsy. And now we live in Birmingham, Alabama, just because we put our finger on the map and we landed here.
Are you serious?
Yes.
All right. It was meant to be.
Everywhere but nowhere. Yes.
Oh my goodness. And let's go back to travel. Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled thus far?
Cape Town, South Africa.
I love it.
I love South Africa.
That's awesome. What is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving for the food.
See, that's
the only time I eat Thanksgiving food. And I'm
right.
People don't fix Thanksgiving food throughout the year. So I love Thanksgiving food. I love Thanksgiving food.
I love that. And what is something on your bucket list?
To get a publishing deal. I would like to publish a book through a big publishing house, and it may not be a big publishing house, but whoever can give me an advance, I would love to publish a book. So I would love to get paid to write. Yes. So that's a big bucket list item that I want within the next 2 years.
Something tells me that it'll be happening very soon.
Yes, thank you. I pray that's my hopes, and everything in my life feel like it's turning to that way, and I'm believing God.
Awesome. I love all of that. So you have been amazing. It's always so nice to chat with you, and I want to make sure that our well-rounders are staying connected with you. So where can we find you on the web?
Yes, so you can find me at www.ashleyjoyspeaks.com, on Instagram, Ashley Joy Speaks, Twitter, Ashley Joy Speaks. I have a lot of opinions on Twitter, so don't follow me if you don't want opinions.
Disclaimer.
Yes, disclaimer. On my website, there is something that I have called Powerful Self-Coaching Questions. And these are a list of about 30 questions that you need to ask yourself, whether you're stuck, whether you're thinking about transitioning out of your job, whether you believe that God has, or, the universe, or whatever you believe in has more for you. These are powerful self-coaching questions. You just put your email in, and that means you're connected to me, and you'll be a part of my community.
I love all that. And I'm going to check that out myself to see where I land as I work on my vision as well as we move into 2022. Ashley, thank you so much for your time. It was so nice catching up. It was great.
Yes.
We're manifesting all the things for you. All blessings. I feel it. It's all good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, rounders, I will chat with you next week. Make sure you are hanging out with us on Instagram. If you love this episode, which I know you did, make sure you follow Ashley, tag us, screenshot, let us know that you tuned in. It would mean so much. But until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and focus on what matters most. Bye. Thanks for kicking it with us, Well-Rounder. Share this goodness with your squad and drop us a quick review. Get notified of new episodes by hitting the subscribe button. Until next time, seek a well-rounded life and remember to focus on what matters most.